Entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, the final bit of coverage for the PGA Championship for the golf major season. This is it, live viewer Q&A. Start loading your questions in now. Please give the episode a like. Reid Fowler will be joining me momentarily, but I do want to let everyone know I got winners. I'm not sure if the DK bucks will end up in your account by the end of the day, so that's probably somewhat problematic, but you'll get them eventually. Some of them use them next week, use them for football season. Maybe they'll show up, they'll just go directly into your account, but here are the winners of the DK giveaways, the Facebook shares. We got, what else do we got? We got other stuff, Twitter shares, the comment section, everything fun like that. Here are your winners. R. Yomtov. There's one. Another Steve. By Morris. L. Burgess 18. Frolik 67. Tool Circle. And Tiger Tout 02. You're all the winners of 20 DK dollars. Want to remind everyone to go become a member at fantasynational.com right now. If you're spending more than $10 on DraftKings this week or in the betting market or whatever, you might want to invest in an $8 weekly membership to fantasynational.com. Help speed up the process and get the most customizable info, data tools, everything you need on the planet. So I recommend you go do that now. Plus, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the Pat Mayo Experience will be live in New York City. Coming with you, Adam Levitan's going to be there too, doing the Daily Fantasy Edge. I was thinking NYC Punter is going to come on the show as we kind of do a mini Cut Sweat live for the PGA Championship on Friday around 5. It's going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to 7 p.m. Eastern Time every single day as we preview the Fantasy Baseball World Championship. But if there are New York viewers or listeners out there, I was thinking of maybe doing a PME meetup sometime Friday night, maybe like 8, 9 o'clock, somewhere in Midtown. It'll be fun. We'll get some drinks, hang out. If that is something people are down for, tweet it at me, send it to thepatmayoexperience@gmail.com. Just hit me up there. Just let me know if there's actually any interest. I don't know if there is or not. Either way, me and Punter are going to go and get bombed on Friday night, so you can come out and hang out with us. Reid Fowler, you're not going to be there, but you can go get bombed on Friday night too in Boston.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm a little jealous now that you and Punter are going to be there. It's going to be a fun time. Yeah, I mean, if you have a chance to meet you in person, it maybe takes some Jaeger shots to get those bombs in. But yeah, I'm jealous. I'm jealous I'm not there.
Well, I mean, we'll have others out there too. I don't know if they're going to be on scene for like the PME legends like Paul Shagg might be there. Gary and Thorne might be there.
Nice.
I'll try to drag some other people out of the woodwork. I used to live in New York City. I got a lot of peoples around, so we can figure all that out. Plus, the lights. Plus, we can go, if you go back last Thursday, last Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, there's all content up there. The early look at picks, and then the updated picks. I have my betting cheat sheet released on my Facebook page. It's in the description of this video right now. My DK picks are up on dkplaybook.com. But let's get into the questions. That's why we're here. We got a ton of time, so we can roll right through this. Question number 1. Reid, this one, I'm going to say it's for you. Maybe it is. Pat, no, it's for me. Sorry. Thanks for all your help. Golf Channel hasn't mentioned Justin Rose all week. That's probably because they think that Tiger's the only guy playing in this tournament. Can I roster him? Is he even on the grounds? Are the FBI searching for him? Mr. Eloy, I'm playing Justin Rose. I think just everyone's so concerned about this back. I am too, but it's creating a nice leverage spot. There's so much chalk that I like in that $9,000 area. It really looks like Brooks is going to be super highly owned. Justin Thomas will probably end up being the most highly owned guy above 9K. Tommy Fleetwood will be popular. So what I'm doing is I'm going underweight on Justin Thomas, overweight on Brooks, no Fleetwood, full fade, no Tiger, full fade, no Jason Day, full fade, and then I'm just taking like either overweight because you don't need to be a ton of them, or around field average on Justin Rose, Molinari, and John Rahm. So instead of playing Fleetwood and Tiger, I'm divvying up my ownership that way. So I am playing Justin Rose. He's my one and done pick because I'm so freaking far behind everyone that I actually need to like win this, have a guy no one else has, and pray that it comes through. He hasn't played well coming off WDs. I don't think he's ever finished inside the top 30, but hey, he's Justin Rose. Everyone loved him in this spot like 10 days ago. He has a bit of back spasms. He took the week off. We don't know for sure, but as we've seen with some of these injuries, like whether it would be Bryson at the Open, Finau at the Masters, all the injury guys have like come through.
Yeah, and Stenson was another one too. I mean, he didn't really come through, but he still played. So you didn't get a 0 or a goose egg with that. But yeah, I'm in the same vein as you. Justin Rose, outside of what we've seen, and Ross actually mentioned it last week when you first came out, and I think that news broke on your guys' show, is that he did withdraw from the Bridgestone. And if we didn't get any news about Justin Rose, it's an even better spot, right? We're not getting these updates that are saying he's fine. We got that from Stenson a little bit. So yeah, I'm in the same vein. I am fading Tiger. I'm fading Fleetwood. I'm going to be overweight in Molinari. I think that's a prime spot for him. He's still going to be, I think, around 15, maybe 10 to 15% owned, but coming into form, this is what you want at the PGA. So I'm not worried about Rose. I think he's in a prime spot, underpriced because of that injury. So I'm going to be playing him.
Yeah, it's weird for me because I'm going to be playing Molinari. I generally have the big fade on Molinari. So this is my move. I get in on the guy well after he's won like 3 times. So that's smart thinking right there, Pat. So maybe I can like jinx him because I don't have a ton of him. I'm only playing 20 lineups this week, so I think I have like 3 of 20 lineups. You know, if he misses the cut, it's not great for me. But if I can like hex Molinari, I mean, I'll feel good about that. Next question, it comes from Robbie J. Hey Pat, longtime follower. Quick question: ownership aside, DJ or Rory? Thanks for everything you do. Thank you for tuning in. Please give the episode a like. I think DJ objectively is the better play. I'm playing more Rory, but this comes down to a thing where at the outset, like when I looked at my lineups, I had like 35% Rory. I know that DJ is going to be higher owned, but I decided to divvy that up and split the difference between DJ and Rory. Just DJ rates out so well. The last time he did this, I used him at the British Open. He was god-awful, but anyway, since then he's had a third. He's had a first-place finish. He rates out the best in this field. Even short-term, long-term, JT is the only other guy who's really close to him. So I can't go full fade on DJ. I'll have around like 20%.
Yeah, and if you compare the two, obviously, DJ is the number one golfer. We've seen Rory in that position, but Rory is suspect, and he has the miscut capability, right? And DJ, when he's missed the cut, we kind of found out that it was because he was maybe a little burnt out, maybe he was a little tired. He usually doesn't miss the cut of the tournaments that he's playing. So if you're going to fade someone, fade a guy that potentially could have. I still think Rory is a fine play. But if it's between the two, I would take Dustin for sure.
Yeah, objectively, I think that Dustin is the better play.
Yeah.
But I do like the upside that comes along with Rory. I can't help. It's funny. Everyone who's like big into DraftKings golf just loves Rory. He's just so up and down, and he's going to be popular this week just because he's had 2 good performances in a row, and people like to bandwagon on Rory. But still, he's not going to be as highly owned as DJ, and we know that he has probably the best ceiling of anyone in the field. Unfortunately, amongst, I guess, Spieth, you can kind of throw out of that mix now because he's had such a bad season. But of Ricky, DJ, and I'll throw Justin Thomas in there too, then, of like the big guys in the field, Rory does not have the highest floor. Let's put it that way. And he did gain over half his strokes last week with his putter, which is very atypical. So the irons weren't working as well as you would like them to be heading into a major. So maybe some of his results have been fake news, but we'll see if he can get it done here with his right to left shot shape. I do like that a lot coming into the week. Remy Lopez asks, what are your thoughts on Peters and Fox? I'm out on Peters. I played Fox, I want to say as a first round leader. I'm going to look at my cheat sheet. I feel like he was one of the guys that ended up making the cut onto my first round leader list. Yeah, Fox 125 to 1 each way first round leader. That's the only exposure I have to Ryan Fox.
Yeah, I think Ryan Fox is a great first round. I mean, he's going out at 6, like right before 7 o'clock at one of the first, if not the first tee spots. So yeah, Ryan Fox. Maybe this course is set up right now. What we're seeing, right? The consensus is that it's soft. It's softened up with the rain, the moisture, and so these big hitters that can bomb it out there and come in with the wedge. And we've talked about it quite a bit. If you can come in with a wedge or with the scoring iron, 8-9 wedge in that department, you have a comparative advantage over the other guys who are potentially coming in and have to be quite elite when it comes to ball striking from a longer distance, like your Ryan Moores, your Zach Johnsons, and those guys. So Ryan Fox is a fine first-round leader. And that 7,100 or that low 7K, there's some guys that I do like a little bit more than him. But for first-round leader, absolutely, especially if you want to go contrarian, he's not going to be highly owned.
Next question is from Matt Jones. He says, all right, boys, throwing one dart in the Millie Maker with a 0.01% chance of winning. It's probably lower than that. Should I go full contrarian or build a solid 3 to 4 man team with 2 low-owned contrarian plays? I think your second option is how everyone should be building their teams. Pick your 3 or 4 core guys, whether they're popular or not, the guys that you feel the best with, and then try to find guys that they don't need to be like 1% owned, but like even who's someone I can throw out here? Matt Kuchar. No one's really on Kuchar this week. He's going to be like 8% owned. Like, that's a nice spot. Zach Johnson is another one who's like a solid play, but he's going to be lower owned than normal. Like, fill out the back end of your team with those guys. They're pretty cheap. And that's the way that I would play it. The 3 to 4 with the 2 like contrarian, not necessarily contrarian, but slightly lower owned guys is how I would go about it. You?
Yeah, I mean, you could build a lineup with Rose and Casey. You can put in there, and you can get a guy like Gary Woodland down at 7K, who's he's a dart throw, and during the middle of the season he missed about 6 or 7 cuts, but he's a guy that's coming into form nicely. He's the bomber. He's the type of golfer that we want here. So there's some guys down here in this low 7K range that you don't necessarily have to go full contrarian and roster DJ and then go in the sub 7K. So I'd rather go the balance at the 3 or 4 and then take a couple of darts. But even those darts aren't too bad.
In the bottom of my column this week, I do this for majors on dkplaybook.com. Again, you can find everything in the description. In the cheat sheet, I have like lower owned, like millionaire maker, like dart throws. If you're playing a bunch of lineups and you want some guys to spread in at the bottom, guys like Ross Fisher, someone like that, JJ Spawn, Andrew Landry. See, woo! Kim. I'm probably going to use him a little bit. I think I have him in 2 lineups out of 20. So 10% ownership on Siwoo. Let's go. Plus the outright on him. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Siwoo until he plays the final 4 holes at like 17 over and comes dead last. But hey, these are the risks that you have to go with when you play Siwoo, Kim. So those are the guys that I like from down to that range. Clark asked, thoughts on Russell Henley? I like Russell Henley. I think based on ownership, style of play, I don't love Henley, but I'm far more willing to take the ownership discount on him over Thorbjorn Olesen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Russell Henley, especially in majors too. Thorbjorn he's going to be highly owned in this range. And what is highly owned, right? It's a double digit in that 7K. And I'd rather rest on guys who have a little bit more win equity. I know Thorbjorn is playing extremely well. He's an Ulrich favorite. He's a Feinberg favorite. So I know these guys that do this for a living obviously are on Thorbjorn, and that's one of the reasons why. For me, I'd rather go with a guy like Russell Henley. But if you don't like Henley, if you think that his ownership too is about 10 to 12%,
I don't think it's going to get up that highly. I really don't.
Right. Exactly. So in that case, right, he's the type of guy that keeps it in the fairway. He's not long off the tee, but he's keeping it in the fairway, and he's great with his long iron. So yeah, I'm fine with Russell Henley. Again, there are some other guys that if you wanted to take a dart throws, kind of going back to the last question, there's an Aaron Wise. There's some guys down here that I would potentially rather take than Thorbjorn and box out that ownership.
Well, I mean, this kind of leads into the next question from Matt Jones again. Thoughts on Jimmy Walker versus Bo Hosler as a leverage play? I actually really like Bo Hosler this week. I think that if you get him out there, it's all like Nick Watney in that same range as dart throws. Like if there's any sort of I don't think that Wells Fargo is a direct correlation, but it's a place where you're going to have to hit drivers. You have to hit it in the fairway. It was where the PGA Championship was held last year. And Hosler's just a really good putter, and he really kills it on these par 4s that are 450 to 500 yards. So for me, I know that Jimmy Walker is a former PGA Championship winner. I would prefer Bo Hosler in that spot.
Yeah, Jimmy Walker is just atrocious off the tee. If you're going to go with the dart, I mean, Bo Hosler is not. Yes, he's someone that we've seen do well. Obviously, he lost to Poulter, and I forget what term. I think it was the Fort Worth or the Houston Open or the Shell Houston, one of those to get into the Masters. And so we've seen it. But what I like with Hosler currently too is his short game is coming into form as well. His putting, he's always a guy that putts well. But even around the greens and his sand save is what you want at this course, right? You want a guy who can bomb it off the tee and potentially be able to scramble if and or when you get into those close to 75 or whatever it is sand traps. So I like Hosler in that position.
Next question, Benjamin Sisko. Is a Griot a good play? He's a fine play. I'm not playing him, but he does rate out really well. I'm just sick of getting duped by Griot with these majors. Any injury update on Rose and Stenson? No. Did you hear anything?
No, didn't hear anything.
Stenson played last week. Stenson's fine. But with Rose, he says he's going to play, so we've got to take him at his word that he's healthy enough, I guess. Yeah,
I haven't heard anything. I mean, I just checked on Twitter when that question came through. There was nothing that came out. So as of now, when we're recording this, there's no news.
Ryan Downs, cash game. Would you go Olesen and Cantlay or ZJ and Webb? You the man, Pat. You the man, Ryan. I would prefer the safer, balanced move of Webb and ZJ.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Olesen and Cantlay are fine. That's going to be a very popular condo. I like Cantlay, too. It's not that I hate Olesen. I just think that he's getting too hyped up. He's a very good value for where he's at. But, the two guys that I really like in that area are Billy Horschel and who's the other goober? Kevin Na. was the other one that I liked down there. So for what I have to take, like, let's say, just to think about this in a different term, like if Olson's going to come in like 13 to 15% ownership, which is where I have him projected out. Henley probably like 7, 8%. Everyone else is going to be like sub 5%, like 4, 3, 2, whatever it is. So for one Thorbjorn Olsen, where I would have to play him to match the field, I can have different chairs. I know this is weird when I talk about like 20 lineups because it doesn't actually mathematically work out that way, but if I was playing like 50 lineups or 100 lineups, that you could take your shots with Horschel. You could take your shots for the same amount of collective ownership that you would get with one Thorbjorn Olsen and spread the risk around a little bit.
Exactly. And you're potentially now getting Zach Johnson at an ownership that we're projecting at, which is probably sub 10K, which is usually not the case because of the narrative of, okay, we need bombers at this course. It's softening up. But if you look at Zach Johnson in his performances against stronger fields, he's playing really well. Yes, he doesn't hit it extremely far, but he obviously has the game to compensate for that. He's been doing it well. Those strokes gained par 4, he's ranked 6th. So again, that's just in strokes gained par 4. But if you're looking at that cash game, you want the safer pick, in my opinion. That's Lovin ZJ.
Clark again. Another question from Clark asks, what are the best ownership pivots in the 9 and 8K range? I'd say it's Rahm, Hideki, Noren, and Sergio are your 4. Phil as well in there. They're all going to be like sub 5%. Not Rahm. Rahm will be like 8%, but the other guys in the 9K area are going to be super highly owned.
I think Bubba too. I think Bubba in the bottom of the 8K, he's going to be a decent pivot if I'm looking off of Finau. Finau is right above him, and Finau and Schauffele, these guys have performed extremely well in majors and in big tournaments. So if you want to pivot off of those guys, I think Watson's a fine play.
This guy asked between Kuchar and Bryson, who's a better fit. Probably Bryson. I think they're both decent fits. And when he talks in terms of ownership, I think that Kuchar will come in around 5 to 7% lower owned than Bryson. Bryson probably anywhere between 12 and 14. Kuchar anywhere between like 6 and 11 because he's Matt Kuchar. And sometimes he gets overinflated in these millionaire makers when he's at this price. But I can just see Paul Casey and Finau, like you mentioned, and Cantlay soaking up so much ownership. And then Neiman is right below them, who I also project to be very popular.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, DeChambeau is a guy that is in the news for better or worse, and he's played well this entire season. So I think he's going to hold some ownership potentially. Even the casual players will look at that and they'll see, at his price and what he's done recently, they're going to roster him. So if you want to pivot off of that, I think Kuchar is a fine play. But even guys below that, I think Adam Scott, Marc Leishman is someone too that I'm looking at as well. Marc Leishman, and I think you mentioned this earlier in your shows this week, is that Marc Leishman is getting talked up. So he's not going to be as contrarian as we think. But still, there are some pivots off of that you can work with.
Ben asked, are you concerned about the way that Charlie Hoffman played at the Bridgestone? Yes, I am. It was not good. However, I'm going to use minimal shares of Charlie Hoffman. I have him at 10% exposure, so I'm still going to roll the dice a little bit. I just think that a PGA Championship, well, he tends to play well at majors in general. It seems like if he was ever going to win one, it would be the PGA Championship, or at least strongly compete, because he's always there at the Masters, but he's kind of like Ryan Moore at the Masters. They always just kind of like linger, and then you're like, well, that guy's not going to win, so we can just cross him off. It was almost like Leishman this year at the Masters. Like, Leishman's making his typical Masters run. Wait till he goes bye-bye. With Charlie Hoffman, I think that the ball striking is still good enough. Obviously not last week, but in the lead-in form coming up to it, that I'm still going to play him.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think Charles Howell is always a guy, aside from form, that always garners a lot of ownership relative to where he's priced. So if it priced at 72 or right around Hoffman, I think he's going to. And you're splitting hairs again. I think that they're going to be close to ownership, but even then, I like where he's positioned too. I'm going to be rostering Hoffman as well.
Next question is about Keegan Bradley. Any love for Keegan Bradley? It's from Billy. I haven't heard a whole lot of buzz on him this week, and I feel like his weakness, the putter, is starting to come alive. How do you feel about Norman in his majors debut? I don't believe Norman is in the field. I think you're thinking about Neiman. So first with Keegan, I just think he's slightly overpriced, and the guys around him I just like a little bit more. In terms of Joaquin Neiman, who I'm pretty sure that they're talking about, not Big Norm, who's not playing. So if it's him, don't play Big Norm, not playing. That's a Pat Mayo guarantee. It's the only thing I'm going to be right about all week. With Neiman, I think that he could very well be excellent at this course. Obviously, when he rates out, when you run models, when you run simulations, he's going to appear at the top.
Yeah.
First major as a pro. I don't love it, but I don't think that's something you can really hold against him. I just think he's going to be popular, and I would prefer to play a Matt Kuchar in this spot or play a Bryson in this spot. Maybe that's to my own detriment that I'm not having as much belief as I probably should in him, but I'm going to pass.
Yeah, even a guy like Poulter, who's $100 cheaper than Keegan, I have a little more faith in. Again, Poulter is going to be a higher owned than Keegan, so as a pivot potentially, but I'm not playing Keegan. I think some other, like you talked about with Neiman, when you look at the 4 majors outside of maybe the British, the PGA is one that we think, right, that can you get these winners like a Y.E. Yang potentially who come out of nowhere. So yeah, Neiman can as a rookie. I have more faith. Let's say I have more faith in Neiman than Wise as a rookie coming into the PGA Championship to do better. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are looking at Neiman and saying, yeah, he's got the skill set. He's got the driver off the tee. He's got the distance. I'm going to be playing him, but I'm not going to be overweight on Neiman. Just smash the field.
Big Joe asks if you had to pick Woo or Luke List, and you could only take one, which one would it be? I think I would take Luke List. I feel like on a consistency basis, Luke List is a little bit better. Now, from a win equity standpoint, it's definitely Woo.
Yeah, if it's like who won the Players and who hasn't won.
Who's actually won on tour versus who hasn't.
Right, exactly. When you look at Siwoo, and you mention it all the time, is as a betting favorite, as a guy who has an extremely high floor and can win, you always get him at a very good number. So Siwoo is, from a betting standpoint, I like that. But if we're talking about DraftKings, it would be Luke List.
All right, Scott, Pat, you're the man. You're the man, Scotty. Lovin Leishman this week. Your thoughts on him? Ownership projection on him? I'm off of him. Obviously, Reid, you said that you like him, and he is being talked up a little bit. What do I have as an ownership projection on old Marc Leishman right now? Marc Leishman I have at 9%, so that range is probably anywhere between like 7.5 and 11.5. Leishman, it's weird. Leishman either spikes at these majors or his ownership is like nothing. So I think this is one where people will end up getting on him. The problem is, you have so many other guys in that range, like people like Webb, people like Bryson, people like Casey, people like Finau, that you can only take so many unless you're playing a balanced build, which my main lineup this week is a balanced build. It starts with Brooks, and then I don't think I have a player below $7,800. So it's a way to get onto chalk with making a contrarian build that you don't need to worry too much about that. However, I'm going to be off Leishman. He was one of my final cuts. But you're on him, you said?
Yep. I'm going to be on Leishman. I just like in terms of what he's done, and I get it at Fort Worth where we have Zoysia. It's not the same. It's not the same at all, but it gives you some corollary in terms of he was putting out of his mind too that week. So again, take it with a grain of salt, but I do like Leishman. I like him in these spots. I think he's shown up at these tougher events. And you're right. At that range, it's so condensed with guys that always get rostered in these bigger. Louis Oosthuizen is always someone that gets rostered in these tournaments. So I do like Marc Leishman, because if I'm going head to head, I'd rather have Leishman over Louis. So
Tommy asks, Pat, I'm playing 30 lineups in the Millie. I have a strong core of about 5 guys and 50%, but I have a total of 60 golfers in my player pool, mixing in everyone as one-offs. Is that okay? It could be fine. If your 5 guys are the right 5 guys, then that's exactly what you want to be doing. But you have to work under the assumption that you're probably not going to be right. So you can still play your 5 guys. I would try to concentrate that back end down a little. So instead of playing like 60, I would play less in 30 lineups, but even if you cut that 60 back to 40 and played a bunch of guys in 2 lineups instead of just the 1, you give yourself a good chance that way as well that you get the right combination, because it's so hard to find the right combination that I would want to give myself as many chances as possible.
Yeah, we always talk about this too, is like you want that core to be concentrated. You talked about it with some of the guys in terms of roster construction or strategy when you're attacking these tournaments. You got to condense that core, and I do like that you have a 5 concentrated core, but at the same time you're paying for a lot of rake. If you're going 60 different golfers, I think that's a little bit too much. So I would scale that back. And the ratio, like we're playing 20 lineups, and so I have around 20 to 25. I'm probably going to cut down on that later today, just staying within that range, because like I said, you don't want to just play all the guys that you like and eat the rake. So just condense that just on the back end, like you said, a little bit.
T-Days 25, any love for Lovemark? None for me.
Nope, okay. No love.
Thoughts on Pat Perez? That's from Dustin. I always love Pat Perez, but I am not playing him this week.
Well, I'm playing Pat Perez. I do like his. I like his tee draw. He's another guy. If we stop the major, we stop the British on Friday, Perez would have a major win. But
yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice, especially when I bet him 500-1. That would have been excellent. I can assure you, that would have been great.
But obviously, for all the captain obviously is out there, it's a 4-day tournament. But yeah, I like Pat Perez. He always seems to come up, and if you get him on one of these putting hot fire weeks, hopefully he comes through. So I'm going to be rostering Pat Perez.
Frank asks, Cantlay or Patrick Reed? I will go with Patrick Reed.
Yeah, Patrick Reed's one of my favorite plays. So yeah, Patrick Reed.
Would you go with Leishman or DeChambeau? I would go with DeChambeau. DeChambeau, as they call him.
Yeah, DeChambeau has a higher upside than Leishman, so I would go there.
Jeff asks, does Patrick Reed's stock fall in the scoring seems to be treading more towards birdies? I don't think so. Over the past 50 rounds, Patrick Reed is 10th in this field, and birdies are better gained. What did he win the Masters at, -15? He's won the career builder before. I think he set the record there. Like, Patrick Reed, you can tell with Patrick Reed pretty quickly. Like, yes, he's good at scrambling, but, like, he has these fire rounds. If he can get those approaches on, and if these greens, I don't know if they're going to play as soft as they're playing in, like, some of these practice rounds, but the way that I think about Patrick Reed is that the stats don't always match what his peak performance is. We've seen this out of him. He's sort of like the elite level Siwoo Kim. When he shows up to win, it's winning time for Patty Reed. It's why he has a major win. It's why he has so many overall wins that I have no problems I'm sticking with him. He's one of my favorite plays this week.
Yeah, especially where he's at too. And we talk about this a lot. The recency bias of guys that have done well or won. Like even Francesco is experiencing this. It's like these guys they get kind of looked over. So for me, yeah, Patrick Reed, like I said earlier, is one of my favorite plays. If you look at what he's done in the majors this year, I mean, it's fantastic. So obviously with the win at Augusta, top 5 at the U.S. Open, and just outside the top 25 at the Open Championship, like this guy comes to play. So. Yeah, he's one of my favorite plays.
Jalen, any love for Chris Kirk or Ryan Fox? I mentioned I have Fox as first-round leader with the each way, but I have zero exposure to Chris Kirk, whether it's betting, whether it's interest, whether it's DraftKings, just nothing.
Yeah, I'm not on Chris Kirk. He stats out nicely in the stat model, but you got to take that with a grain of salt. So no.
Here's an interesting one. Charles asks, is Kyle Stanley a fade? I am fading him.
Yeah, this one's interesting because we've seen, like, we kind of contradict ourselves a little bit because current form, a lot of us are more keen to current form, and Kyle Stanley is coming in with great form. But when you look at that range too, at 7,100, we also talk about good fades, bad fades, or good chalk, bad chalk. Like for me, Kyle Stanley is one of those guys that, like in that range, I don't trust him. I'd rather go with some other guys with higher upside. He uses his strength is his driver off the tee game, but for me, I'm going to be fading him.
Next question. Where are we at here? Curtis, as always, thanks for everything you do. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everyone out there. If you want to continue to keep this going, I'm going to be doing a spoiler alert, a live chat during the NFL season, too. Oh. Maybe Sunday mornings. We'll see. So if you have, like, start-sit questions, the PME might be where you want. Maybe I'll do one during the week, too, if people actually do like these live chats, which I think that they do. Plus, you can always listen on demand, go back after the fact, whatever. Curtis asks, avoiding the sub 7,000 guys, a terrible idea. Plus, any news on the Rose injury? No news on that. But yeah, listen, if you don't want to go to the very high end, like I don't think that taking anyone below 7,000 and even boxing out like the 10,000, like Tiger and above, I don't think that's a terrible strategy.
No, not at all. I mean, you don't, like you said, you don't need to. You don't need to go down that range. If you're attacking the balanced lineup, you don't need to. If you want to play DJ, then yeah, there's some guys like Kevin Na and some other players down there that we have some comfort in. Russell Henley, but you don't have to. So yeah, I think that's fine if you want to fade that range.
Next question is about Jordan L. Smith, the Brit. Steve asked any thoughts on him, who he popped in the model. Well, the thing is, if you look on Fantasy National right now, he only actually has 10 weighted rounds. So what you're getting from him is not necessarily indicative of the player that he is. You can go to the European Tour stat site. They have very rudimentary stats, but you can get a better sense of what he's up to. But overall, in his past few tournaments, in Germany, he was T64, missed the cut at the Open, T32 at the Scottish Open, missed the cut at the Irish Open, T21 in France, T8 at the Italian Open, which Thorbjorn actually won, and then at the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth, he missed the cut. So not for me. I'd rather have Ross Fisher.
Yeah, if you talk about the Euro guys too, Ryan Fox is right there. So yeah, I'd rather have other guys as opposed to him. So yeah.
Let's see. Do you think the same fools that used to draft the wrong Adrian Peterson with Da Bears? That's a good one. There was also a fake Steven Jackson one year that I got someone to take, I bid him up in the auction to $8, and someone went crazy and spent $50 on him. I think it was on Kansas City. Do you think that happens with fake Zach Johnson at $6,100? Listen, I certainly hope so. If you're going to be putting $20 into a millionaire maker and you think Zach B. Johnson, is that his name?
It's Zach L. Johnson.
Zach L. Johnson. Listen, if you're stupid enough to put your money in and take a guy who's not the right guy, that's on you.
Yeah, Zach J. Johnson. Yeah, if you think that's the case and there's a blip in the matrix, then yeah, come on. Yes, they have the same name, but just dig in 3 seconds deeper, and you'll find out that that's not the right Zach Johnson.
Well,
if it is perfect.
The move would be if someone thinks that they're betting Zach Johnson. I think he's 5,000 to 1 to win, and somehow he wins, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a genius, Zach L. Johnson. What a winner!"
Yeah. No.
What is it about Joaquin Niemann, the fantasy national simulator, so much? I think it's the fact that he's been fucking awesome. He's been on tour.
I think the numbers, compute themselves out to where he's performing extremely well. So, he's a kid that's playing extremely well. He's 19. He might have this invincible air about him because he's so young. But yeah, I think he's a great play. So. It's the numbers.
Since turning pro, he's missed 3 cuts in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in 11 starts. So sometimes it doesn't go well, but those are only 2 rounds of weighted data. The other finishes 6th, 8th, 6th, 5th, 17th, 23rd, 37th. And the guy kills it off the tee. Plus, when you look at the range of holes, that's how the simulator really works. It weights more current data versus historical data a little bit more in the actual model. So all of the rounds that he's pulling from are all of his recent data as well. So when I think about the simulator, you have to take it with a grain of salt because it's just measuring holes and how people perform on those holes. But I mentioned on an earlier show this week, I would never have hit Austin Cook 80 to 1 at RSM if the simulator wasn't we love Austin Cook. He's great. I was all right, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And they're pretty bullish on Joaquin Niemann. I believe he's second right now. I don't know.
He's second.
Did the second one run yet?
Oh, I haven't checked. I checked this morning, and I think Niemann was still there. But yeah, like we talked about earlier, earlier in the season, we saw Niemann, and we're okay, we have to make sure that we're not going too bullish on this because we only have 12 rounds or 24 rounds. But now he's got a pretty decent sample size of tournaments that he's playing. And yes, he's missed cuts and tournaments that potentially he should have missed cuts, and he's also done really well when we thought, okay, yeah, maybe he's just on a fire run right now. But if I look at the simulator now, I think it still has.
It has Niemann second.
It has Niemann second. So I mean, again, he's a solid play, and if you want to, if you're ready to eat the chalk at that 70, that mid-7 range, then take Niemann.
George and Ponderosa Sports have very similar questions. Spieth is winning, right? And the other one, is Spieth a good pivot play? God, I hope he doesn't win, but now that everyone's off of him, this could definitely be listen, Spieth's good, so he could definitely win, and this would be a grand slam. I don't think he's a good pivot play. I just don't think he's a good play. So I'm staying well away from Jordan Spieth, and I'll have it come back and bite me. If I lose because Spieth wins, Spieth's a great player, that happens, but I'm not using him.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, maybe in a single entry. It's one of those things, too, where we were on Spieth earlier in the season. If you were playing Spieth and he was missing cuts or he was losing, 90 strokes on putting, you still had to play him because his price and ownership were decreasing as the weeks went on. And so you kept on playing, kind of like Rory. You kept on playing Rory because you knew at that time that when it hits, you wanted to be on it, especially if that price and ownership were depressed. But Spieth is just not, he's not sure. He popped a little bit at the Open, but he's just not showing it. So, yeah, I'm going to be fading Spieth as well.
Megan Burns asks, Snedeker ownership. Haven't heard much chatter. It's funny because I wanted to be on Snedeker a lot, then I just didn't end up with any shares. Maybe, I'll see how many shares of Charlie Hoffman I have. I thought it was 2. Maybe it's more. Let's see here. Hoffman, I have 15%, so that means I have him 3 lineups. I can move some of those onto Snedeker. I actually like Snedeker. I have him projected at 3% ownership. He's top 10 in 2 of his past 3 tournaments. He had a disastrous second round at the Open Championship, and that got a lot of people off of him. But This is a course where I don't think, like, bombers always have an advantage, but I don't think it's going to be the biggest thing in the world. If there's a lot of long iron approach shots and putting does matter, short game does matter, Brandt Snedeker is someone who could pop, absolutely.
Yeah, and the off the tee number is not necessarily, he's missing the fairway, he's not hitting it like he usually does, but his off the tee number, obviously that brings in distance, and he's not the longest hitter. So if you do want to play the contrarian of, style of golfer, a lot of people are going to be attacking these bombers. The Snedeker, you could take the full, like, Zach Johnson, Snedeker type lineup, because people aren't going to necessarily be playing these shorter hitters. And Snedeker is, he's a fine play. So, yeah. I don't mind that either.
Yeah, just make all your lineups. Kuchar, Snedeker, Kisner, Zach Johnson. Who are the guys in the 8? Norin and Spieth. There we go. There's your team.
Yeah.
Bill asked, Pat, don't really play golf, but I'm here to support, share, and hit the like button. Keep up the great work, buddy. Hey, thanks, Bill. And please, everyone out there, do give the episode a like right now, if you can, because it does go a long way to keeping this free and allows us to have giveaways, because it shows people are watching. It gets higher in the YouTube ratings. Boom. We got shows for you. As much content as you can handle. So much you'll get sick of it by the end of it. Scott asked, there was some discussion as Olsen good chalk versus bad chalk. Wondering Reid's thoughts. Will he be in your lineup, Reid? He will not be in any of mine.
Who was that? Thorbjorn?
Yeah.
The Thunder? He will be in a few of my lineups, yes.
Okay, but you won't be, like, massively overweight on him?
No.
Okay. With some clear pricing errors like Casey, JT, and Olsen, but tighter pricing overall, is leaning cash-heavy lineups advised? Like playing, I don't know if that means like playing that sort of lineup or playing cash games overall. I mean, you can get away with it. We've seen the last 2 Millionaire Maker winners, co-winners. One was a 2-way split, one was a 5-way split, leaned towards a very cash gamey lineup. That's what ended up winning. The chalk hit, and boom. Everyone had the same lineup, and that's the way to go. If you want to play like I mentioned before, like 4 guys, maybe even 5 guys that are pretty chalky, just find a spot to differentiate, or leave $200, $300 on the table, and you can take advantage of some of these mispriced guys. That would be my approach.
Yeah, and even if you look at the sim, it's not the same, right? It's not apples to apples. It's a little different. Even the sim shows you where these guys were in terms of when they won. So, like, for instance, Justin Thomas was, I think, around 23rd. The sim odds had him winning, 23 times. And so that obviously wasn't the highest. So you can take that again, too, to see how that operates. But if you look at the last lineups, the Millie Makers, you're right. Chalk did hit. And so if you want to take a cash game lineup, it feels safer, too, right? You feel a little bit more confident with guys that are going to be that are potentially going to make the cut. So if you want to play cash games, we all talk about we don't play cash games that much. So if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But I just like the more contrarian plays.
Carrie says, I'm digging the 9K range a lot. Stacking 3 guys and 25% of my lineups a worthwhile gamble. Hell, make it like 40%. I really like this 9K range. As I've mentioned, I think you can get away with not playing any of the 10K guys and playing like 3 of the 9K guys and just dropping to that $7,000 area. I have no problems with that.
Yeah, I mean, the only guy that I'm playing above or in the 10K is Ricky, and I don't feel great about it.
Good. Good. You play all the Ricky.
I know, right? I'll just burn my money right here, right now. But no, like you're absolutely right. I think the pricing here is fine to fade those guys. And you talked about it earlier too. At the RBC, you faded the elite level, the top level, and look what happened, right? So at the major, at these WGCs or these other tournaments that have stronger fields, you're able to do that. So I want to be doing balance as well.
Next one, Big Vince says, ever since you dismissed Lahiri, the Lahiri guy, he's been on a heater. This is true. If I ever just come out very emphatically against someone, play that guy. Does he have a chance at the top 10? Yeah, potentially. I played him. Did I play him as first round leader? I think I may have. I think and that would be the only Lahiri. Yeah, Lahiri, 125 to 1 first round leader with the top 5 each way. That's my only Lahiri exposure, but I don't think that he's a terrible play. I actually like Billy Horschel in that area a little bit more.
Yeah, I just never liked Lahiri, and good for that guy who was on him, who kept on, who stick to the guys that he liked. We're the same way, and for better or worse, and if being stubborn, right, the John Rahms, the Rorys, the Spieths that we do, we don't get it. When you stick on a guy like a Molinari or like a Lahiri, it works out. For me, Aaron Wise is that guy in that range that I do like, just because of his upside. Again, I'm potentially burning my money, but yeah, Lahiri's a fine play if you want to.
Next one. How concerned are you with how Fleetwood looked in round 4 at Bridgestone? 2 double bogeys, just seemed off. Has he peaked and is now hitting a wall? I would say this is nothing out of the ordinary for Tommy Fleetwood. He always has one bad round every tournament. One of these days, he's going to get it all together and he's going to win something. Is it this week? I hope not, because I'm not using him, but I don't think that he's out of form.
Yeah, and scrambling, if you look at Fantasy National the last 24, you see a big red box and scrambling because it's not good. So if he does get a little wayward, he's not potentially that good right now, getting up and down and saving par. But again, that's the 9. What is he? 9-3. He's potentially one of your core guys, and he's a guy that's shown that he can go extremely low. And if you think this is a birdie fest, Fleetwood is one of the guys that can rattle off a ton of birdies. And so, like I said, I'm fading him as well because there's some other guys that I like. But yeah, Fleetwood is a birdie guy. So.
Oh, the Pat Mayo experience on tour. Come to Denver someday. I would love to go to Denver. That's not where I'm going. I'm going to be in New York City. Where in New York City, Pat? Let's party. If there actually is interest, I'm trying to scout a few venues. Somewhere probably around 34th and 2nd might be like a spot. My just above my old stomping grounds. I know a lot of the places down there, so maybe we can find a place if there is enough interest. Like I said, tweet at me if anyone is interested, or the Pat Mayo Experience at gmail.com. If you're around the city Friday night, get a beer or something like that. Matt Fox, Rose, Kuchar, and ZJ, or Thomas, Cantlay, and Olesen. I think for GPPs, the Rose, Kuchar, ZJ is the way to go. But if you're playing cash, Thomas, Cantlay, Olesen is definitely the safer of that bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have Thomas and Olesen, if you're talking about current form, even with Cantlay, all these guys are playing really well. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Bryson and Neiman ownership. I already said Bryson probably around 13%. What did I have Neiman at? Did we mention that yet or not?
I think you said around 15% for Neiman, around there.
For Neiman, where is he at? Yeah, I have him between 15 and 18%. People really want to be there for when it happens with Neiman, and that might lead to over-ownership this week. I can't fault anyone for it, but just if that's going to be a guy that I have to pray doesn't win or doesn't come inside the top 10, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, same here. And there's semi-decent pivots. Right, when I say Adam Scott is semi-decent, he's getting away with using a putter that he used when he was winning all of his tournaments. So Adam Scott is someone that I'm moving some shares of Neiman. I don't want to be too overexposed on Neiman, and so I do have Adam Scott in some. If you want to pivot, that's who I'm going off of.
What was I going to say? I had it, then I lost it. Bad on me. Pat, do you agree with my 2 value plays under $7,000? Thorbjorn Olesen at 67 and C at $6,700. Best values under 7K that you can mix with JT, Brooks, Cantlay, Finau. That's winning a milli lineup right there. Well, you and everyone in the world are going to be on Thorbjorn Olesen, and Siwoo can destroy your life. I don't hate it, though. I think they're 2 fine plays. Olesen is obviously a much safer play, but Siwoo's going to come in with 1/8 the ownership of Olesen.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about potentially a CT pan, right? We saw this with Joel Dahman earlier in the season, where you get these guys that are going to be chalk. Like Thorbjorn right now, I think is a better play. Joel Dahman obviously was playing really well, but in terms of talent-wise, Thorbjorn is better than those guys. But for me, even Brandon Steele, he's down here at 65, or Brendan Steele, excuse me, didn't play extremely well last week.
No, he did not.
But I do like him at 65, right? If he's in 2 or 20 of my lineups, I'm not too worried. And he's shown form. He does grab you birdies. He is long off the tee, so I do like that 6,500. So if you want potentially some of those guys that are not the aforementioned, then Steele is one of my guys.
I do remember what I was gonna say. Did you see that Michael Collins column up on ESPN with the power rankings of everyone in the field? And I'm pretty convinced that he's either trolling us or he's secretly Andrewcast with his just terrible list. But he had Neiman ranked 132nd of 150 players in this field.
What? No, I didn't see it.
He had him behind 4 club pros.
What?
It was really. It's a really. I don't know. Who do you have inside the top 10?
He's a Tiger homer too. He loves Tiger. He probably had
Tiger.
Well,
who doesn't love Tiger? Let's be real.
But in terms of realistically, by number standpoint, if you look at Neiman and Tiger, who has a better chance of winning?
It's probably Neiman at this point.
Right, which is weird to say because the sample size of Tiger and Neiman is night and day. But Neiman to me is someone that I'd rather roster. I'd rather take a number Like, what's Tiger's number? Like 15-1, which is crazy. And Neiman's number is better than that.
Yeah,
so.
you can find him at 100 on Bovada right now. I think that he's
Yeah.
down to 70 on 365. I haven't looked at Pinnacle or the DK Sportsbook because I don't live in New Jersey. But Steven asked about Justin Rose's injury. Still no news. I guess he's fine or he's not. We'll never know until you play him and then he WDs. Fun. Michael Morgan, Pat and Reed, seeing Sergio at 100-1 this morning. Am I crazy not to do this or to play it? I use Sergio in 10% of my lineup. So 2 at 20. I got some Sergio. It feels awful. I feel like I've just taken my money and like flushed it down the toilet, but he's going to be like 2% owned, and he has a pretty good track record on Reese Jones designs. Yeah,
I mean, God, Sergio, it's when you see that ownership number, it's too hard to pass up. I mean, we were playing him at an ownership that was higher than that at 5%, but yeah, 1 to 2% is probably where you're going to find Sergio. 100-1. Look, we talk about it all the time. You're getting an elite player at a great number, so you're not crazy for doing that. Depends how much bankroll you want to put on Sergio because he does have the MC capability. Because we've seen it, 7 out of the last 8 tournaments he's played on tour. So, but just buyer beware.
I just see that DraftKings tweeted at me. They tweeted out this video I shot for Roman Health ED meds. So listen, if you need some ED meds, you come to Pat Mayo. I'm dishing them out. Roman Health, some golf picks. What's a better corporate tie-in than dick pills and golf? I mean, that's what everyone needs, right? Everyone out there. I'm sure everyone watching on YouTube is definitely like 75 years old, loving golf. So
right, exactly. Exactly.
Frank says, can Kyle Stanley have another good week? He doesn't have a good majors record though. I don't believe he actually has a top 30 at any major championship, and plus the elevated ownership coming off the really good week that people took notice of. I used him last week. He actually kind of helped me tread water and having 0 JT. It was a terrible idea. But now I'm going to be fading. He can definitely have a good week. Kyle Stanley's a fine player, but I'm off.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at those guys who are going to be higher owned, it's going to be Stanley and List in that range. But like I said earlier, Woodland, JB Holmes is also someone that I'm looking more into as the time gets closer to the tournament because, yeah, at the same time, you want these guys who hit their tee to green, their ball striking is great, and just their putting is not necessarily there. JB fits that mold exactly. I'd rather have these guys as opposed to Stanley, and I get that price really too. So.
Next question, DFS Tavern. Great to see you both back. Reed, JJ Spawn?
Nope, no JJ for me. Sorry.
I actually did use him in one lineup, I think. Did I? He was on my short list. I can't remember if he ended up in I did use him. It was like between him or Andrew Landry for like a one flyer. I'll take the guy with the 3rd place last week. Ponderosa asks, all Bombers lineup this week? Thoughts? Yeah, if you want to correlate everything together, go for it.
Yeah, it's nice. If you have like the ROMs, the Kepkas together and got lifts in there, yeah, I mean, it's fine. If you want to go contrarian and like we talked about earlier, take the shorter hitters, that's not going to be a popular play. So
Samuel James Perry, 28. And with a name like Samuel James Perry, that could be the 28th, based on that sort of blue blood name. I need a final punt for my main GPP lineup. I'm deciding between Cook, Henley, or Levy. Not Levy. Don't take that, Frenchman. Please, help. Thank you. I'll go Henley.
Yeah, I would go Henley if you're boxing out that 10%, 12%, or 8 to 10% ownership. So yeah, Henley.
Who will be the top 10 owned in the Millie? Oh, Jesus Christ. I have it listed in my column. Just look at it there. It's going to be Justin Thomas, Rory, DJ, Finau, Cantlay.
I think Day's going to be, at 9K.
Day, Olesen, Neiman, those guys.
Yeah.
Next one. Thoughts on Brian Gay? Did I play him? He was one of the guys I was looking at for first round leader. I didn't play him actually. I didn't play him first round leader at all. He was one of the I made a list of 15 and then started cutting people out. He was 150-1. I don't actually hate that play. I just didn't want to take too many guys. Contrarian play for sure. Going to hit all the fairways. It just do you really want to roll with Brian Gay at a major?
Well, that if you like I said, you got to take some of these guys too. Don't just if you're using Fantasy National, look at the tournaments, the Barbasol, right, Greenbrier, John Deere. These are the stats that are pulling for Brian Gay, and so yet those tournaments, those fields are extremely weaker than what we're seeing now. So no Gay for me.
John asks, Willett or Billy Ho? Ooh, Billy Ho's probably the better play, but my heart is with Danny Willett. I'm using both of them, but I'll take Willett. I have a bit more exposure. I'm worried that Herschel can't mentally handle these shitty greens. It's probably true. He might freak out. But Jeff said the octopus pants might be coming back, so that could negate everything.
with the two-tone shoes. I don't mind that. It's actually a good look. It's like that John Daly jacket that he had at the Champions dinner. Yeah, Billy Ho for me in that situation.
Bill asks, are you down to hang out with people that don't smoke cigs in NYC? Maybe. We'll see. Joe, any thoughts on Henley pivot off of Euro Ricky? Seems cheap. I think everyone's kind of feeling the same thing. Below $7,000, Olson's going to be the higher-owned guy, but Henley's probably going to be second. Just
I
know
agree.
that. He'll be less, but he'll probably still be second.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Ryan Almail? Poor Ryan Armour. I feel like he had his run and he's done.
Yeah, I think he's getting the Reeve effect, where we saw him, do pretty well for a good stretch, and now he's just falling off a cliff. So no Armour from me.
Hey guys, question mostly for Reed. So this is for you, Reed. I won't even weigh in. Are you still liking Day? 45 to 50% of fairways hit doesn't seem like a great recipe here.
Yeah, I do like Day. For me, he's if we call it like on brand, I do like Day because of where he's coming in. I love his distance off the tee. Look, he's not hitting his irons extremely well. He's not hitting them well at all, actually. But what you do like with a guy like Day is there's so many sand bunkers. If you look at the around the green game, these guys are going to miss some of these greens. It's just a matter of time. So I do want the guys like a Ricky or a Day who are extremely acute when it comes to sand saves, when it comes to around the green, who have the distance as well. We saw, Day's popped. He popped at Bridgestone. I'm using that as a corollary. So I am playing Day. I do like him.
Bryce. That was Bryce's question. Hey, guys, thoughts on Eddie Pepperell? Better Twitter follow than DraftKings play this week. Although not terrible, just not for me.
Yeah, he was fantastic. That he said he was a little hungover the final day. That was great. Just full transparency. I love it. But no Pepperell for me.
Sub 6.7K plays apart from Thunder Bear. Let's see. What's Ross Fisher at? I think he's 67. So him, Spawn, Landry, Justin Harding, maybe, just as a one lineup flyer if you really want to.
Yeah, for me it's Brendan Steele. I think your boy Satoshi was down there.
Ted Potter Jr. I bet him.
The Wizard,
I bet him like he's been playing a lot better than. He's not playing great by any means, but I feel like he's supremely undervalued, like especially in the betting market. Like he's 250 to 1 to be first round leader, and you get a fourth of that in each way if he comes inside the top 5. I like that. He's 500 to 1 to win. He's $6,200. Like his top 20 odds were 22 to 1. Like he's priced with club pros. Like he's better than that. He's won this year. He won at Pebble. He won at Pebble. He outdueled DJ. He's a 2-time winner on tour. Like he's not a guy that like next week you can go pay $30 an hour to teach you how to fix your slice.
Exactly. Like TPJ being what is he, 62, close to the min price? Yeah, we talk about win equity. I think that's a euphemism. I think that's an over-exaggeration down here. Like you said, he won at the AT&T Pro-Am. He's in the WGC events. This guy's a top player. To be down there, yes, his form isn't fantastic, and he missed a lot of cuts. But when you're talking about 6,200, if you want to go heavy on DJ and Rory, I think TPJ is a nice play.
Matt says, just a heads up, Willett is 250 to 1 on the DraftKings Sportsbook if you want to light some more money on fire. Keep up the great work. Best in the biz. You're the best in the biz, Matt, for bringing that in. Where I'm not in New Jersey, I can't make those bets. I still think it's only in New Jersey. We'll see how that gets rolled out. I was thinking in Canada it would just be up already, but apparently it's not. I'd take that bet. I took it at 175 to 1, so I'd definitely take it at 250. Mitchell J. Finch says, fading Rose and Molinari. Thanks for the input, Mitch. Fitch. LP, hey Pat, thanks for your content. What are your thoughts on Cam Smith this week? Usually does well in these big tournaments. I think he's a fine contrarian play. I can't pull the trigger. Did you look into Cam Smith at all?
No, I mean the guys, like I said, I'm trying to keep my player pool pretty tight, and so the Ryan Fox, he was right around that price. Cam Smith does pop, in certain situations. But for me, he's not the type of player that I want. He's great around the greens. And so I kind of contradicted myself in terms of guys that I do want up at the top are the guys who are elite around the greens. But in this 71 or this low 7K range, I want other guys that kind of fit, what kind of dart throws that I want, the high upside, the guys that can get birdies, that can bomb it off a tee. So I'm not on Smith.
Cam Smith, despite coming 23rd last week at Bridgestone, gained 4.4 strokes putting. He's lost strokes tee to green in each of his past 7 tournaments. So, no, I'll take that as a hard no. I like Cam Smith. I think he'll rebound at some point, and maybe you want to be early on him, and this is a spot where he's going to be like 0.5% owned. I just don't see it. Yeah. I'll wait for the swing season or the Aussie swing where he won last year. Are you ready to make all your money back with Keegs? I didn't use Keegs. I'm just so scorned by Keegs.
Yeah, what are your? I know you have some bets with the other guests that you had earlier. Is Keegs on one of your cards against anyone else? Or
no, it was Luke List versus somebody, and then it was Danny Willett versus somebody.
Lahiri. It was like List versus Lahiri.
No, it was List versus someone better than Lahiri.
Keegs is he's got the distance, man. He has the tee to green. It's just like you said. When you try to use his putter, he can't. You might as well try to kick it in.
Yeah, List. Paul hit it. It was List versus Fitzpatrick and Willett. Yeah. Do you remember who Willett was against? It might have been against Fitzpatrick as well.
Yeah, those are fine. Yeah, Keegs is no Keegs.
I see you're on Fox. What's the downside on him as more than just a flyer? The downside is that he could come dead last. Like, if he loses the ability to keep it within the fairway off the tee, he could be in a whole lot of trouble very quickly.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
He did all this play, like the great play on all these link-style courses. So now that we have more rough into everything, there's creeks just veering a little bit off of the fairway, that he could find himself with a lot of big numbers. That would be the downside of Fox, and the fact that he's just not all that great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's if he gets in the sand too, like he's not a good sand player at all. So. Yes, again, you're taking dart. That's why they're dart throws. You ever try to throw a dart at a dartboard, rarely you get in the bullseye. So that's sort of Ryan Fox is sort of the definition of that. But we've seen it. We've seen him play decently well in these fields. We've seen him in these tougher fields. So he's more of a dart throw. He's more of a confidence, if I can use that word with dart throw, than some of these other guys.
Brian asks, is there any type of weather advantage? Definitely not on Thursday, because it's about like 5 mile per hour winds all day long. It does seem to pick up a little bit. Actually, I'll do just a live check-in, and then I'll throw that. I have the Chesterfield Airport. I'll throw that into the chat right now. If people want to go check that out, just scroll to the very bottom. I just posted the wind finders that the highest winds it's going to be while they're on the course tomorrow, 5. Those are the gusts. The next day, it's going to be up to 7. So now I don't really see anything. Guys, for showdown purposes, guys that go out early Saturday morning, as it stands right now, might get an advantage because it might rain a little bit overnight, soften up the course. Then the winds are a bit high Saturday morning, but they're kind of consistently like 7 to 12 all day long, which isn't gusty whatsoever. So if they can get those soft courses and soft elements, maybe stick the green a little bit, Saturday showdown or even weekend golf guys that you want to use, that might be the way to go about it.
Yeah, it's going to be really hot. Like on midday, obviously, when he gets to like 1 or 2 o'clock. But other than that, there's no weather draws.
With everyone saying this is a dart throw and track, what about Chess and Hadley? As Punter pointed out, this isn't a web.com event, so you're probably best avoiding Chess and Hadley. I don't hate it, not for me, but I absolutely do not hate it. I think that is absolutely the right mindset that Kyle has. That, when we think about ball striking, who's been really the best throughout the course of the whole season, not so much lately, Chess and Hadley definitely has been one of those guys.
Absolutely, and the one thing I do worry about Chesson is bent is not his preferred green surface. But even then, if you take that out, if you talk about tee to green, if you talk about ball striking, like we always try to hone in on, he's one of the guys that over the season, right? His around the green game is getting better. So Chesson is not a bad play if you want to pivot in that low 7K range. I'm not using him, but I don't mind it at all.
Let's see. Matt says, thanks for all the great content so close to fantasy football season. Well, thanks for tuning in. I'll have a brand new football show out tomorrow morning with my main man, Jake Seeley, updating the rankings. I got some winners to give away on that one as well, so we'll see about that. Probably a dumb question, but is there any reason to play Thorbjorn Olesen after the Ander curse? Probably not. And Jason Day or Tommy Fleetwood? I'm fading both, but I would go Fleetwood. Yeah, I would go Fleetwood in that spot over Jason Day.
Yeah, I would go Day in that spot just because I do like his around the green game. I like his scramming a little bit better. Like it burned me at the U.S. Open because that putting flipped, and we can see that, right? I mentioned it in my blog post too. Is that that can flip at any moment, more so than the ball striking. So if you want to fade Day, and go with Fleetwood the ball striker, that's fine. I'm using Day though.
Let's see here. Jordan, who are the guys in the 8K range that you like? I have 20 lineups right now and I have no one from that range. Wow. Cantlay and Finau, two of my favorite plays. My three guys that I bet are in that range. Four guys I bet are in that range. Reid, Stenson, Bubba, and Casey are all right there. I like those four plays. I'm using more guys in the 8K range than almost any other because I think I can mix and match a little bit. But yeah, Finau and Cantlay are pretty sharp plays. Like I said, I have like 10% Sergio just because like if you wanted to pivot and take the low-owned Xander Schauffele, who no one's going to be using, who just shows up in these majors, I think that's a spot you can do it. But like, yeah, I think there's a ton of great plays in the 8K range. That's why building some of these balanced lineups isn't a crazy idea.
Well, even a guy like Noren, too. Yes, he's not like his form isn't like before the season started. And obviously now what we've seen through what's transpired is that Noren hasn't translated into what we thought coming into this season that he was going to do. But he was a top 10 golfer ranked at some point. So there's a bunch of guys in this range that you can look at. Like Phil, too, is that you're going to get Phil like 3 or 5% ownership. So if you want to potentially play that angle, there are guys. Hideki is another one that if you want a contrarian build and you don't want to just go chalk with Casey or some of these other guys, then yeah, there's definitely pivots in that range.
With 76 bunkers here, would it be smart to fade Patrick Cantlay? I just went and looked at this to confirm my suspicion. He's actually become a much better sand player. He's not abysmal anymore. He's slightly above field average in sand saves gained over the past 50 rounds. Over the past 24, he's 74th in this field. So he's not excellent, but again with Cantlay, if this is going to be one of these things where the greens are so big, yes, there's a lot of bunkers, but he just might hit every green in regulation. You never have to worry about it.
Yeah, because he's coming in 11th too in greens in regulation gained over the last 24. So you do feel more confident about his iron game. And like you were saying, sand saves and some of these other around the green stats are catch-22 because guys obviously have to miss the greens to then bolster up those stats. So take it with a grain of salt, but yeah, his greens in regulation gained are pretty nice. So yeah, I'm fine playing him and not worrying too much about his sand game.
David asks, "It's my birthday, so I need to know Poulter or Casey because he needs to win the money." I would play Casey.
Yeah, I'll play Casey too.
It's a safer move.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you rather play chalk in a higher price range or lower price range? Higher price range for me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Higher price range.
Yeah, it's just those guys are so much better that you can,
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't always work out, obviously. But, when you have someone who's priced at like 7,100, there's probably a reason that they're not 10,300 because they're probably a lot worse. So it just makes more logical sense to fade the chalk down in that range than at the top if that's the way that you want to go. Who do you loke? I think that means like, that no one else is loking at. I think that's looking at right now. Thanks, Gavin. I'm kidding. I guess Nick Watney and Billy Horschel are probably the two guys that I'm kind of on that I don't really hear much buzz about, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, I mean, those two guys. I looked at Nick Watney a little bit. He's just for me wasn't. JB Holmes is.
Were you saying that Nick Watney, when you looked at him, he was too good, and you're like, it's just unfair if I take Nick Watney because he's probably going to win. True. That I can't use him.
It's true. Yes, that's exactly it. No, it's the exact opposite. Look, Nick Watney is I get why you're on Nick Watney. We see it. He's playing better as of late. Not for me though. JB Holmes is someone that I'm looking into. That, if you want to say, look, people know who JB Holmes is, but for these type of tournaments, he does sometimes flirt with those top leaderboards. So I do like JB as one of the guys that no one else potentially is looking at.
Austin Cook looked pretty good at Bridgestone, not on the 17th hole, which he double bogeyed 3 consecutive rounds to start the tournament. Any interest at 6.5K? I prefer him at shorter courses, is all I'll say about Austin Cook. So no for me.
Yeah, no for me.
Fading Troy Merritt with a blood clot injury? I'm just fading Troy Merritt because it's Troy Merritt. He already got his win. No more Troy Merritt.
Yeah, that was scary too. I mean, outside of what we're doing here, that's a pretty scary moment. I mean, I think I'm not a doctor, so obviously I don't know. But waking up and seeing your arm twice as big as the other arm, that's pretty scary. So thank God he's okay. But yeah, in terms of his play, like you were saying, he did win. He's a fine player, but not here, not for me.
Kyle says, Brian Harman, based on shot shape and dog wags, I don't know if he necessarily hits like a cut for him as a lefty. I just think that that's a natural shot shape for a lot of players that lefties could potentially have an advantage here. That's just pure speculation on my part. It's a bit long for Brian Harman, but I think that he's one of these guys that we know he can get the putter going. So if it does fit his eye off the tee, where he's a shorter hitter, that could lend a big advantage for him. And he's someone who's coming in at 1% right now. Yeah,
it's just, for me, current form for Brian Harman is just not I just don't. I do like that. Yes, attacking the left-handers who can hit that fade is a potential narrative. I don't think. And you look at a guy like DJ, and look at some of these other guys that can bomb it off the tee. Even Brooks, for that matter, they're not necessarily only playing that fade. They do have other shots in their arsenal. So I'm not heavily going into that. Now, a guy like Bubba, for instance, if you can get a guy like him with the distance and the ability to get it out there, then yes. But Brian Harman, not for me.
Captain Wrong, Kadira and Merritt are inexpensive and have wins this season. So does Ted Potter Jr. Is there any other reason that I should consider them? Nah, I'm not using either.
No, me neither.
JSC, par 70, check. 72 to 7,400 yards, check. Chez Reavie ranks 5th in my model. Lol. Why? Any interest? Cook better for the same price? I'd say just avoid both of them.
Yeah, when I ran my mixed model, Chez Reavie was up there. But if you look at the par 70s, that are maybe potentially at that shorter side of the 72 to 74 range, Chez did pop earlier in the season. That's where we saw a lot of these. So, again, be careful with just looking at the models. Also look into, if you're using Fantasy National, obviously, look into how they're playing, and then also, history in the majors, because that's going to obviously have a correlation here.
Frank asks, Bo Hosler or Andrew Putnam? I prefer Bo Hosler.
Yeah, Hosler for me.
Okay. Haven't heard much about Stumanji Sink. He's big on Gup's radar. I'm generally in on Sink. I was at the Open, obviously, and he just missed that top 20, which I could have used to pay for my week, but obviously he came T22 or something like that. Always fun times with Stuart Sink. I think that he's fine. I just don't know if he's going to... here's the thing, and this is just pure anecdotal and from just me watching Stuart Sink, because I've watched enough Stuart Sink over the years. I don't think he's a great leg putter, and he does have a very high greens in regulation. We know that the approach is usually on with him, but if he starts getting 60 feet away from the hole, there could just be a lot of three putts because he's such a shitty putter that I just think if I'm going to roll the dice down in that range, I'd rather roll it on potentially a younger player, one with maybe not as high of a floor, but a higher ceiling in terms of the millionaire maker.
Yeah, I mean, a guy like Hao Tong is right there who's playing a little bit better. I'm in the same vein as you. You look at Stuart Sink, his approach game is nice. His irons is where he really sort of stakes his claim, and what we saw when he was on this heater. So, and like you said, at 6,700, there's other guys in that range that I'd rather take shots on. It's getting later in the season. Not to say that he can't perform well later in the season, but, fatigue potentially can set in. I want these guys, if I'm taking, at the lower range, that have a little bit higher upside. So no Stumanji for me.
No, where'd it go? I had the question all lined up, and it was about this, and you answered the person's question just right. Damn it! It was about Hao Tong. Anyway, Hao Tong's ownership is 2%.
Yeah. He's fine. Hao Tong's a fine play. I mean, I like him.
Oh my God, I thought we were running out of questions, and then it updated on me, and apparently there's 300 more questions.
Sweet.
We might have to start rapid firing through these things here. So maybe not as long on the explanations, although that's usually a problem for me as I continue to talk like I'm doing right now. Wasting time. Let's see. Can you give out ownership percentages for Leash, Usti, and Webb Simpson? Yes, I can. Webb I have projected as the highest owned. He's going to fall anywhere between 11 and 14%. At least that's what I'm seeing. Louis anywhere between 7 and 10%, and Leishman anywhere between 8 and 13% is where I got it right now. All right, I finally found that question back. I love Brooks this week. All right, Charles, what's your feel? Thank you, Pat, and all your fire-ass content. Does that mean I have diarrhea content? Is that what you're saying, Charles? Because you would be correct on that. I like Brooks this week. He is my highest owned guy in the 9K range. Maybe my highest owned percentage overall when I actually go look at it. You talk about Brooks. I'll see if that's true.
Yeah, no, Brooks is a fine play. You talk about he in these tournaments for I don't know why Brooks gets overlooked, and at that price range, you're getting a guy who won the U.S. Open now back to back. He's fine. And when you talk about par 70s and long courses, Brooks is great. So fourth off the tee, 10th on par fours. Driving distance, he's 7th. All those stats line up. So yeah, Brooks is a fine play.
Craig, if you play on, you must play na, and vice versa. That's very good. I actually am playing them both, so I subscribe to that theory of the all palindrome lineup. Any interest in Webb this week? Yeah, I actually do kind of like Webb.
No Webb for me, sorry.
Okay. I have a lot of Ryan ML. Any other plays in the 6K range? Yeah, check out the cheat sheet for that. I have a whole list of them, and one of them is not Ryan ML. When Leone had a massive Millie Maker finish, he did it with a 100% Sergio ownership strategy. Obviously risky, gave him a lot of shots at the win. If you had to pick one for that strategy this week, who would it be? I think I would go with Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks or Rose for me would be the guys.
It's so hard with the injury with Rose, I think.
Yeah. If the injury, and again, like there's some level of confidence with no news is good news. So I'm subscribing to that. So those two guys, Rose or even Casey too, might be that. But yeah, I would stick with Koepka and Rose. Actually,
I think I'm going to reverse that. I do like Koepka the most there. I think Stenson might be that guy for me because people are kind of off of him. Yeah. And he's the lower salary that you could still mix in a Brooks with him, a Justin Thomas with him. And that's where Sergio was priced at the Masters that year, that he allowed you to take more shots at the top, but he was your solid 8K guy. I'm not going 100% Stenson, but I think I have like 45% Stenson. I said that Brooks was my overweight guy. I think that Stenson's actually my highest overweight guy.
Yeah, Stenson's playing well.
Pat Perez or Julien Deval-Serry? How about neither? You like Perez?
I like Perez.
Usti or Bryson? I like Bryson.
Yeah, Bryson.
Thoughts on Webb Simpson? We just did it. I'm in on Webb. I like Webb. You're out. Casey or Finau? Casey.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'll go Finau.
I'm playing them both, but I'll say Casey.
Yeah.
Rose or Fleetwood? I like Rose.
Yeah, Rose for me.
Fantasy National has a stat called drive left avoid. Is this useful for this course? I think that's just missing to the left. So no.
No.
I mean, if you want guys that don't miss to the left, that could be very beneficial, I suppose. Does Pat have the balls to play Adam Scott? I do not. I'm not playing Adam Scott.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question, but I am playing Adam Scott.
So you do.
I
have the big balls to play Adam Scott. Do you suggest rostering more Woo Kim or James Hahn? I did bet Hahn first round leader. He's 200 to 1. I'm playing more Woo, so the answer for me is Woo.
Yeah,
although I always go against my own advice, where I say don't play Woo on DraftKings, just bet him to win. But instead, I did both. Stupid.
Yeah, no, Woo.
Bryson going back to side saddle putting. Y'all about to be so mad.
What? Uh-oh. Here we go.
If you're going to waste my time, Craig Miles, I'll waste your time. You can blame Craig Miles for this. If you can find out who Craig Miles is at Twitter, tweet at him. Tell him he's awful. If you only have to pick two, Casey, Finau, Bubba, or Bryson DeChambeau, who would it be? I'd go Bubba and DeChambeau.
I'll go DeChambeau and Finau.
Okay. JT repeat. Casey in here, wasting time. If my make/miss the cut parlay, how many SIG should I buy for Pat Mayo? That's from Spenny. I tweeted out his to miss the cut parlay yesterday. I think he put $3,000 on it, so I'm cheering for you, buddy. I don't know, you can just buy me a carton, we'll be cool. Although I did nothing to help contribute to this. Are strokes gained off the tee important this week? If so, doesn't steel seem extremely cheap on DK? I think that they are. I think that approach is more important than strokes gained off the tee. But yeah, I'm not using steel, but you said you were, right?
Yeah, I'm using steel.
Okay. Is Surrey a good GPP play? Nice value at 6,900. I don't think that he's a good play or he's a nice value. So no.
No for me either.
Favorite play or lock of the week? I guess my answer would be Stenson.
Yeah, mine's Patrick Reed.
I like both those guys, and we can go into that. Thoughts on Alexander Levy? Go back to France, pal.
No Levy.
I don't know why I'm very high on Brian Harman. I had him outright on a Feinberg-style parlay to juice up a top 20. Thoughts on the Harmanator? We've talked a little bit about Brian Harman. I'm off of him, but I understand the logic behind him, and could be a very good contrarian play.
Yeah, I get why we talked about it, but I mean, even if you look at Bridgestone, I'm just looking at it right now. The only category he gained was in strokes gained putting. So, if you take current form into it, Harman's not a good play. But if you want to play him, if you feel good about a player, play him.
I need some help. I have a small bankroll and play these small 25-cent games. I usually enter 15 lineups. What should my player pool be? Probably around like 10 or 12 guys.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're playing 20. I have about 25 guys. So if you want to take that ratio and do the math, you can do that. But yeah, that's fine.
Oscar says, I heard weather draw. Is there a better one? No, there is not. Willett versus Billy Ho. I think I answered this one already. The answer is Willett, but I do hold them both dear to my heart.
Yeah, Billy Ho for me.
Okay. Thoughts on Austin Cook? We've lost a lot of Austin Cook questions.
Yeah.
We're both off Austin Cook. Only playing 6 lineups. What would the suggested player pool be? What should the suggested player pool I draw from be? Should not end a sentence with a preposition like that. Thanks, Pat and Reid. For 6 lineups, probably 10 players. Maybe a little bit more if you want to play like some lower end guys in one, but I wouldn't make it too big. I'd have a core, like a very tight core of like 8 guys that I try to mix and match as the core guys, like 4 to 5 players in every lineup, then pick and choose the other guys. Yeah,
I'm the same way. I think with a 3 max, if you want to be really bold, you can do different lineups and no dupes. But yeah, those are fine. I think if you have a good 8 to 10 guys in your core, that works.
Finau, a fade for you guys? No, for me. I'm playing Tony Finau.
Yeah, I'm playing Tony Finau.
Way to dress up for the live chat, Pat. LOL, all caps. Well, listen, it's the end of the week. I'm getting tired. I got to dress up for my big show. What's that, Paul?
Lock him.
What? Lock him?
Give him a timeout.
Give him a timeout? Oh, block him? Yeah, good call. Paul's on top of this. Blocked. Let's see.
I like that.
Put user in a timeout. You're in timeout, DFS Jags. What's your guess on Spieth's ownership? I'm going to say 6%.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be single digits, so I'd say 6 to 8%.
What's a more important stat this week, off the tee or tee to green? I think I would isolate tee to... it's probably tee to green, actually, to be perfectly honest.
Tee to green is always... Yeah, it's in my
ball,
ranking.
Ball striking would be my highest weighted of any stat, though.
Yeah, same here.
Which is, I mean, strokes gained, ball striking is the combination. It takes out around the green from tee to green, so it's just off the tee and approach. That'd be my highest. Yep. Thoughts on Rafa, Kibriya, Bayo? He was a late ad for me. I like the way that he's playing. He's trending upwards a little bit. I think he's a bit sneaky. I'm using him, and I bet him to win.
Yeah, he's a great play. I think at 73, you're getting some price relief. You don't want to play Poulter at that ownership. You don't want to play Ryan Moore, potentially at that ownership that he might get. Then RBC is a fine play. I like him.
Michael, eating the chalk but leaving $800 or more on the table. A good way to get favorites but not have a repeat lineup. Yeah, I actually think that's a fine strategy if you want to go that way. I think if you left $400 on the table, it'd basically be about the same.
Yeah, I think in the Millie Maker, and I'm assuming that's the question here, I think it's a great play. I usually don't leave that much on the table, but if you look at, correct me if I'm wrong, the last guys who won the Millie, they've used the entire salary cap. So yeah, it's preference. If you don't want those dupes, then yeah, leaving money is one leverage point.
James Miles, Jimmy, at Jimmy DFS on Twitter. Any chance you roster Grace as a GPP pivot play? I'm not doing it, but I have him at less than 1% owned right now.
I had Grace earlier in the week. Thing is, if the course was a little bit longer, I think he stats out nicely. But again, you're splitting hairs, right? In my mixed model, he rated out pretty well. But for me, at that price range, he was one of my last cuts because I wanted to play more DeChambeau and Leishman in that range. So,
thoughts on Henley? We both kind of like Henley as a play down there. I like him as a potential, still highly owned, but lower owned pivot off of Olesen. Casey or Poulter? I'm going Casey. You said Poulter?
Between those two, I would go Casey.
Okay, we're both going Casey. Oh, here's a fun one. And just remember, keep this very brief. This is from Luke. Who does the course favor or benefit?
Oh, no.
The good players. How about that? Matt asks, X-Man always shows up for big events and got a hot round this time last year, too. Too risky to go with over 50% exposure. Playing with Finau for potential final Ryder Cup spot could further motivation. Listen, if you want to go all in on X, go all in on X. I have no problem with that. I'm not using him, but I get it. And if you want to make a stance over 50%, he might come in at like 6% ownership. And if he does compete in here, you have a great chance of winning.
Yeah, absolutely. He is paired. That other person paired with that group is Furyk.
Jim Furyk, the captain.
Yeah. So I mean, don't take that narrative into consideration too much. He's a fine play. 50%, you're going to be extremely overweight. But like you said, that's a fine play if he does really well. So I don't mind it.
Is it okay to play chalk guys like Neiman and JT and DJ at 2 times the field? Yeah, that's how you want to play them if you're going to play them.
Yeah, exactly.
David, do you think the softer conditions also help shorter hitters, landing irons soft on greens? Now, this is just from the practice rounds from what we're seeing. I mean, it's been dried out for a very long time. We're not going to really know until day of, and if they get burnt out, they get burnt out. I'm not really focusing on any one specific skill set of players. So if you're a bomber, yeah, maybe you want to stack all the bombers together. If you're one of these shorter hitting, like long iron mavens, like Ryan Moore, someone like that, he's another guy to throw into that lineup that we talked about, the short hitting, good long iron guys. But no, I don't think that it's an advantage really either way. I think everyone can compete.
Yeah, same here. I mean, the fescue might be a little bit thicker, stickier, but even then, like you said, it's dried out. I don't think one day of rain is going to change the whole dynamic of this course. So don't take too much consideration into that.
Pick one, Stenson or Leishman. Stenson for me.
Yeah, Stenson.
What would your strategy be as far as core goes in a 3-entry max GPP? Stick with 2-3 guys all in or mix it up with each lineup? I'd probably set it at 4 core guys and play them each in 2 of the 3 lines. But if you want to go 100% in the 3 max, go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I like to do like totally different lineups in the 3 max just because I just want some diversity. But yeah, if you wanted to do core 3 guys, it's fine.
This is actually, it's funny. This is something that's come up. Apologies if it's been asked. No problem, Andrew. But did Rose ownership projection come up? I don't think that it did. I have no idea, is what I'm going to say. Like Fantasy National, the ownership projections have him out at 16%. That's dropped from 20 early in the week, so it's going down. But like, here's how you have to weight it. Because people play Justin Rose a lot in the Millionaire Makers. He seems underpriced to where he is. Do people even know about his injury that are randomly playing the Millionaire Maker? I don't know. I don't know if that's on their radar or not. So they might just play him blindly, thinking he's 100% Justin Rose. And then we're going to say, oh, no one's going to play him because he's injured. I'm going to say 13%, potentially less, for Justin Rose would be my guess.
Yeah, I still have him up there around 16 to 18%. Like you were saying, like he's performed so well in the majors, and all season he's a guy that even if you tuned in to the final days at any of these tournaments that he's played at, he's been up there. So I think he's still going to be higher on around that 15 to 18%.
Do you think Appy Burnrat will become Appy House Rat this week? For me, at 6.7K. for 32 in overall world golf rankings. Probably a better way to structure that question. I'm not playing him. You?
No barn rat for me.
Do you believe Day is underpriced like JT last week? I do not. I think Day is properly priced, mainly because everyone else is saying that he's massively underpriced. I don't buy that. I think that there's upside-wise, Day can win, 100%. But I think that with a lot of these guys in that range, I think he actually has the most downside, except for maybe Rahm.
Yeah, from a ball striking standpoint, he does because he's just not hitting his irons well. So yeah, I would think that with a guy like Day, he might be priced a little higher, like at 92, 94, where we see Fleetwood. But yeah, I think he's priced perfectly where he's supposed to be.
Will Peters be sub 3%? Yes.
Yeah,
I believe he will. Danny Willett makes the cut. Danny Willett probably going to win. Him or Luke List or Si Woo or any of the other losers that I bet every week. Maybe Nick Watney. We'll see. I hope so. Put it that way. For some of my lineup sake, I hope he makes the cut. How much money should you leave on your table to make your lineup unique? I think if you leave 200 on, it's no guarantee that it will be unique, but you have a far less chance of being duplicated.
Yeah, same here. So I usually use like 200 or 300 on the table. So.
Thoughts on Xander? We just went through that. I think he's fine. He just missed the cut for me. JB Holmes and Justin Thomas or Rahm and Webb Simpson? Give me Rahm and Webb Simpson.
Man, I got to go to the other one. Was it Holmes and JT?
Well, yeah, JB Holmes and JT. Well, you really like JB Holmes, right?
Yeah, I like JB Holmes. And so their Raminator, man, he is not showing up in majors. And we've used him, and if he goes south early, he's gone. So I would go the other route.
Thoughts on Wise? Seems like he is streaky and could be set up to contend. He is streaky because he went second, then first, then missed like 20 cuts in a row. And nice performance last week. You like Aaron Wise. I'm not playing him.
Yeah,
I
do.
him?
Yeah, I like two of 20 lineups is fine with me. Aaron Wise is a flyer. I like his distance. He played well. He won the Fort Worth where we saw Zoysia. So there's some narrative there. But this is his first major. So risky play, but I like him.
Spieth, Rahm stack in a single entry GPP. I would be against that because I don't think Spieth is going to win.
Yeah, I'm against that too.
Thoughts on Fleetwood? Always does great whenever I play him. Go for it, Luke. Play Tommy Fleetwood. Continue the role going. I mean, the guy's been good at every major so far. I see no reason why he wouldn't be here. I just worry about that one down round that takes him out of contention to win. That's my only problem with Fleetwood, is that I don't think that he's going to win. And I think that he's going to be slightly elevated in terms of ownership, that he's an easy fade for me, so I can move a few more of all the Tommy shares I would need to use, move a few onto Rose, move a few onto Molly, move a few onto Rom, give myself more exposure that way. That's where I'm going. Prince says Spieth's grandpa is from St. Louis, and Dustin's mother-in-law is from St. Louis. Blocked. Timeout.
Come on, guys.
Fucking time. What kind of ownership do you think that Brooks will get? If Rose is going to be down, Brooks will go up. JT will be the higher owned, but I'd say probably around 20%.
Yeah, same here. I mean, he's won this season, and he's a fine player. So yeah, around 20%.
Thomas Peters still world class, making cuts lately. I mean, be a world class and making cuts are two completely different things. No, I don't. Maybe he can get back to that point. I don't think he's there right now.
No, he's the guy who broke his club off his back, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was awesome to watch, but no, he's not for me.
What are your thoughts on Jorge Campillo this week? I have no thoughts on Jorge Campillo. Don't use him.
None. Zero.
Where do you think Rom ownership comes in? I'm going to say 9%.
Yeah, I'd say he potentially could get the 10% of double digits because of the name, and he's gotten a lot of top fives, so potentially, but it's not going to be higher than 11, 12%.
I think that your regular DraftKings player will be more willing to take a shot on Rom than your average player that is just jumping into this, because they'll just say, hey, Rom's a hothead, which is true. I don't want to play that guy. They're not willing to embrace the downside that comes along with the Rom upside. They'd rather just go for a safer option. This is why Jason Day is going to be 21%.
Yeah, go full hothead lineup like DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, and Rom. That'd be a fun lineup.
Get Pat Perez in there too.
Pat Perez.
Yeah, you'd be good to go. Thomas Peters, throw him in. You guys think Ryder Cup bubble line up is good? Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's great, man. What are your ownership projections for DJ and Rory? I'm going to guess Dustin comes in around 19 to 22%, Rory 15 to 17%.
Yeah, those are good because industry guys, the general public, they're all on DJ. So yeah, DJ is going to be in that 20 to 25% easy. And the Rory, same thing, in the 15 to 18%, yeah.
I don't love Tiger. Thanks for bringing that to the table there, Jason. What percent of Rom do you got? Rom seems to not show up in majors. I mean, Rom was top 5 at Masters? Dude, we let the recency bias back in. I realize that he has not been great in majors. I just trust the skill set overall. And plus, when you look at long-term adjusted over the course of his career, just overall top 10 finishes, he has so many. How much did I use Rom? I have 15% Rom in my lineup, so 3 of 20 lineups.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, Rahm is a fine play. He's a top 10 golfer. He's better than that, right? So, he's a fine play. You do have some bias. But like you said, who do you trust more, right? Rahm or Day in a situation if you're going head-to-head? If you like Rahm better, they're priced similarly. Take Rahm. He's a fine player. For me, I'd rather have Day. But yeah, Rahm's a great play at that price.
If Bryson's ownership gets up to 15%, is he worth pivoting off of? Who is the potential low-owned pivot in that area? Well, Grace is probably the low-owned pivot, most definitely. Yeah. But I'm just going to eat the DeChambeau chalk. I will not be pivoting off of him.
Yeah, it'd be hard to pivot off of him. Like you said, Grace is coming in probably sub 5%.
Kuchar and Webb will have lower ownership in that same range. If that's, I like both. I'm using both those guys, so those would probably be the more logical plays. Like I said, Grace is going to be sub 1%. He'd be the ultimate pivot play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you're building one lineup, would you rather use a contrarian build, leave money on the table, or stat specific, or just contrarian players? I'd leave $200 off the table and maybe go with a balanced build. Which would be a more contrarian build, and that way you can just get around it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think I constructed a roster that had, Rose, Casey, and some other pretty chalky guys, and it's in my opinion, a great roster. So it could blow up in my face, but I'd rather do that and leave some money on the table.
What's a good average salary to leave on the table? Like you pointed out, they had the guys that won the million the last 2 times left none on the table. So maybe that's the way. But if you don't, they all have duplicated lineups. So if you don't want to dupe, I'd say at least 200 is pretty safe for not having your lineup duplicated. It's going to happen. I mean, it's not going to happen. The chances are that it could happen. It just probably won't, that if you left none or 100 on the table.
Yeah, that's fine. I usually leave around 200 to 300, so that's fine.
Not a lot of talk about Hideki. I imagine low ownership. Are you rostering him at all? I am not.
Nope, none for me.
All day over here, natural fader of the ball. That's great. Maybe people should tune into your chat. Will Bubba be the least owned? Oh, DeChambeau or Bubba or Casey? I would go Bubba.
Yeah. Are you talking about least owned or like?
No,
pick one of the
just
three?
who would you use?
Oh, Casey for me. But lowest owned, I think Bubba comes in that.
Leishman ownership projection, I said like right around 10%, potentially a little bit more.
Yep.
You're using
9 to
them, I'm
10%.
not. We're getting to a lot of repeat questions here. So you can go back and watch this on demand, so it's not like 8 hours long. Is it okay to leave $1,000 on the table to be different? I feel like you're just giving up a lot of quality in your lineup if you're doing that. If you like the lineup, then yeah, go nuts. You don't have to.
No, 1,000's too much for me.
Any Chris Kirk? No, from both of us. We answered that one. Does X show up? We talked about X like 3 times. You can go back. Got to win my office pool. Pick the top 6 golfers best. I don't fill out your fucking office pools. Okay, the question is no price. Just need to be the best 6. Just go to the odds board and pick the top 6 guys.
Yeah. Hey, come on.
Rory, Bubba, Stenson, Woodland, Bryson, Moore. Should I start spending my $1 million already? No, that $1 million is mine, John. Best play under 7K. I want to say Watney, but I know it's not Watney. I just like him a lot. Kevin Na is probably the best play from under 7. Most people would say Olesen. Some will say Henley. I think it's Kevin Na.
Yeah, I would say Kevin Na too. I mean, I steal someone else that I talked about, but Kevin Na would be the guy. Best play for me.
Any Webb Simpson love? Yep. We gave out the ownership projection, or just become a member of FantasyNational.com. You can go find that. I really like Hosler. Is not really being mentioned. He scores points on DK. Well, anyone who plays scores points on DK. So, yeah, I mean, that's not really a thing that you should be looking for. If they score a lot of points, that would be good. Just scoring points, not the greatest thing in the world, unless they're, Bodo. Bodo doesn't score a ton of points. He scores like negative points. But that's still points. We both like Hosler. We both said that already.
Yeah, I like Hosler.
Weather situation, not paying attention to it this week. Doesn't look great. Lahiri coming off of T6. Will you have any ownership? Just first round leader for me. Are you playing Lahiri? I couldn't remember.
Nope, no Lahiri for me.
I'm still waiting for my free DK bucks. Like I mentioned off the top, it's taken a while to go in. You might not get it today. If you ask me again, I'm going to cancel it. How about that? Kevin Streelman now in the field. Do you think he'll be added? No, he will not be added. It's too late.
No.
Percent chance the winner comes from under $8,400. Hungry people down there, close also Ryder Cup year. You might want to figure out how to use a comma in there or a period potentially. Percent chance, I think the actual percentage of guys from down there, if I look at like the actual win equity, I think it's like a 37% chance, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Reed won when he was, I think, in the 7K. He won the Masters. I mean, Brooks wasn't, I don't know if Brooks, what his price was when he won the U.S. Open, but even Molinari, I think, was around this mid, this mid 8 or lower range. So that's where Cantlay is. Cantlay is at 8.4. And so if you think Xander or Finau have a good chance, then yeah, I mean, you're taking the majority of the field if you go below 8.4. So yeah, I think it's possible.
People are talking about that there's a PM AM advantage because the greens could get baked out Friday afternoon. That could potentially be true. I have no idea, so I'm not going to put any stock into it.
Nope, me neither.
Looks like the looks at Aaron Wise. Yeah, we talked about Aaron Wise. Can you touch on some of the better lag putters in the field this week? This is a great question, and this is very problematic because I would love to, but I don't know. It's all eye test stuff. I think that Stenson's a pretty good lag putter. I think that Reed's a good lag putter. I think that Bubba is an exceptionally good lag putter. DJ is as well. The problem is the only stat that you can really have to look at is like plus 25 feet 3-putt percentage, which is a fine stat, but it doesn't really target in on what I'm looking for. I wish that number was like plus 50. Because if a guy is like not 3-putting from 26 feet, great. He shouldn't be 3-putting from 26 feet. Now, if he's 3-putting from 70 feet or not 3-putting from 70 feet, that is what I'm more interested in this week. So that's all going to be observation, guesswork, luck when you go into it. So that's a really tough one to figure out. I wish there were better numbers for that.
Yeah, I mean, take the good putters too. Like Ricky is a solid putter. I would put him as one of the better lag putters, but he's also, he's long form. He's good with his irons. So you're right. It is an eye test type thing. I would just go with the good putters in that sense.
Okay. Favorite right-handed golfers that hit a draw. I'm thinking it sets up well for Bubba. Phil would also like to correlate some righties. Day has been mentioned. Rory's been mentioned. Patrick Reed is another. Yep. Paul Casey is another. So those are just Nick Watney is one of the reasons I like him. Those are just some that I'm throwing out.
Yeah, I think I don't know if Xander is I think it's actually a fader of the ball. So
Xander just hits the ball pretty straight, to tell you the truth.
yeah, so like these bigger hitters too, they obviously want to fade the ball. Well, not obviously, they do tend to fade the ball because there's less run out, right? So if you're bombing it, you're carrying the ball 295, 300 yards off your drive. You want to take some off of it with that fade. So, again, that's a correlation that you don't necessarily want to take too much stock into. These guys can play both. Like these pros can play both shots and directions. So I'm not weighing too much into that.
Patrick, my name's Pat too. I'm all over Bubba this week, so am I. I'm seeing him in my dreams. Can you assure me that I'm not just insane? When it comes to Bubba, all bets are off. You have to know the risk of taking Bubba going in. If he's not feeling it after like 5 holes, he might quit golf. Although I saw that he was doing a bunch of morning shows in St. Louis earlier. So the last time he did a media blitz, he won at Riviera. Yeah. So maybe that's a good thing. That gets him into his happy place. But I'll bite the bullet on Bubba Watson this week. I'm in on him. Let's hope he wins this. He's player of the year. So I mean, maybe that's something he wants to get, and get a third major too. You don't see a lot of guys that have won 2 majors within the last 10 years that are priced as low as he is. So did we talk about Rose yet? Yeah, we did. We're both playing him. Not hearing not much chatter on Kevin Na. We just answered the Kevin Na question. What is Chris Wood's ownership projected to be? Like him as a great pivot off of Thunder Bear. I didn't even think about Chris Wood this week. I'm guessing sub 1%. Westwood, Chris Wood, 0.7% on Chris Wood right now.
I liked him better at the Open. Again, we talked about other guys that we like in that 6K range, so I don't have any Wood.
James, do you like Spieth this week? No, we don't. Paul, bad putters, Keegan, Scott, Chap, Liz, Sergio, Stenson, putting lousy this year with these giant greens. Who to play then? Who play them? No. Brooks ownership, 20 to 22%.
Yeah.
Bjorn withdraw, Streelman in now, but DK hasn't updated the lineups because they don't update lineups after people withdraw. That's why. When people are added to the field, because we know they're going to be added on a Monday afternoon, then they go in. All of these other WDs, if pricing's already out, it's not going to change. Why is Molinari not being talked about him? I have an 80% of my lineups. That is a very good question. I'm not entirely sure why either. Maybe it's my influence being I call a guy who sucks, then he wins 3 times. People are he can't keep it going. There's many reasons for a Molinari bias. I'm trying not to get into that this week. I'm using Molinaris at 10% just to have some so I don't feel like an idiot. But I don't know why he's not being talked about more. I really don't.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with these guys who win, who think that there's some hangover, especially a major. The PGA and this schedule has the British and the PGA pretty close together. So I think that's the case. And if you look at the guys who are around him, there's just better names to talk about, or sexier names to talk about than Molinari. But the recency bias says, hey, this guy won, so he's not going to win another one. And that's completely fault. I mean, he's playing as one of the best golfers right now. So don't fade the guy just because of recency bias. He's playing well.
With JT Chalk, isn't this about the time of year last year that he made his run for the FedEx Cup? Well, he's the defending champion, so yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse. Hey, Jesse. You make some great gifts. Follow Jesse on Twitter. I forget what the handle is, but I follow him, so you go follow Jesse. Andrew Landry. Is he a bootlegged Adam Hadwin? Scoring average, that's a lot of numbers. I bet him as first round leader. 175 to 1 Andrew Landry. There we go. There's the bet. Yeah. Steve, I enjoy the show over all others. Well, thank you, Steve. What do you think about Justin Thomas, Fleetwood, Mickelson, Bubba, Neiman, Olsen as a lineup? Well, with Mickelson and Bubba in there, it's probably not going to be duped, is all I'll say.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think you have some pivots that if you feel confident in, that's good. I think Bubba and Phil give you that left to right shot that right to left that they fade. Then yeah, that's a fine lineup. I like it.
Daniel Lowry, a good pivot in the low 7K range. I'm off Lowry.
Me too. I can see why, but I'm off of him.
David says, is it okay to leave $1,000 to be different? We just answered that. What do you think of Afi Burnrat? We already mentioned that. Okay. Cabrera Bayo or Ryan Moore? I'm going Cabrera Bayo.
I'm going Ryan Moore.
Cabrera Bayo, Ryan Moore, or Ben On? Pick 2. I would go Cabrera Bayo and Ben On.
I would go Ryan Moore and Cabrera Bayo.
Which 3 core players would you use? Would you go DJ Noor and Bubba or Rory Brooks and Bubba? I would go Rory Brooks and Bubba.
Yeah, Rory Brooks, Bubba.
One and done, please. Day, Finau, Kuchar, or Molinari? I'm guessing you're going to say Day. Finau will be popular. I'll say Molinari because probably no one has him left.
Yep, Day for me.
What should your strategy be when entering a single lineup in multiple contests? I play as close to a cash game lineup as possible with maybe one or two lower end guys. But if you're just going to go all in on one lineup, you can make it as chalky as you want.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, good. Someone's talking about InfoWars. This is just fantastic. Would it be okay to only play Spieth and Rory up top, then the rest balance? Yeah, if you want to. Do whatever you want. Do your lineups.
Yeah.
Are you quietly super excited about Kim this week? I'm excited about him every week. It never works out.
Quiet about Siwoo either.
Yeah, it really rarely ever works out. But it only needs to work out like once every 7 years, and then you're up money. So
yeah, exactly.
It's good news. Wise finally got laid. I like it. Okay, here's one. And these are sort of the one-word answers we need to be getting into. Stenson Reed or Finau Cantlay? You were great in Fight Club. Thanks, Joe. Stenson Reed for me.
Yeah, Stenson Reed for me as well.
Any single entry lineup strategy? I would say if you go to dkplaybook.com, I talked about this with Jeff Bergerson and Ben Raza before the year. There is strategy in there. If you go to the top of the columns, there's the thing called DraftKings Strategy. One of the segments is single entry lineups. So you just click on that. It will take you right to that point of the video where we talk about it, where we actually explain it, get into it. Where we're rapid firing through these, I can't really answer that in 10 seconds. That's probably a much better way to go about it. So check out that. Thoughts on Bubba ownership? Do you think he comes in sub 10%? Because I think he might.
Yeah, I think it comes in around 8 to 10%.
Zach Johnson at 61% owned. Going to be 30% owned or higher. Thoughts? I hope it's 38%.
Yes, no.
That would be fantastic.
That would be, but I don't think it's gonna. I hope it doesn't. But I mean, if it does, I have Zach Johnson, the real Zach Johnson. So yeah, I hope it doesn't, but it'd be funny if it did.
Tom, have you guys covered Oosthuizen yet? Not really. We covered him a lot on yesterday's show because Ulrich always loves him. Has his bed arrived in St. Louis? That I don't know. I'm off of him. I get that he always plays well in majors. He's a fine play. He's just not for me. I like all the other guys around him better.
Yeah, I think he's part of the trailer team with like Bubba Watson and some of these other guys that have these trailers that they drive. So he can do that. I don't think he just brings his mattress down anymore. So check on that. David
responds to the Zach Johnson question saying, that is not Zach Johnson you're thinking of. Zach Johnson is 7,500. Thanks, David. We know. It's a joke. Jokes. Get them sometimes. All right. Let's get to the end of this. I'm running on dry. I'm getting punch happy. I got another show to do in like half an hour. Hao Tong Lee, yes or no? No for me.
Yeah, I have Hao Tong.
Is DJ Rory a viable stack? The bottom end of your lineup sucks, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're riding those guys at the bottom, then yeah.
With no individual strokes gain metrics available for majors, how do you factor them into your research/stat models? I just go by eye test and results. I mean, I watch almost every hour of every major, and I try to get all my feeds going at one time, so you can really kind of pinpoint. You don't have the exact metrics, but you can see who was a hot putter that week, who was killing irons and just putting very poorly. So I just kind of play that by ear. I do not factor it into my modeling because there's nothing to factor in.
Yeah, I mean, you can play the favorites, the guys that perform well at majors, but there really is no quantitative, so it's a lot of it's qualitative.
DeChambeau bounces back? Hope so. Nah, stack? Go for it. Better bet when already having McIlroy, Day, and Koepka. Rahm or JT? JT is a much safer player. He has a better chance to win, so I'll say Justin Thomas.
Yep, same.
Any idea what the winning score to par will be? That's two separate questions. I'll say minus 14.
Yeah, I was going to say around 15. It's tough. I mean, I can't figure this one out. It could go to 12 to 16. I'll say 15.
Let's see. Freudian slip, my friend. Pat has some Roman pills for that wood problem. Jose has the best comment of the day. That's a fantastic one. Get some ED meds in you and give a like before you go. Helps. Last question, boys. Brooks, yes or no? Yes.
Yep, for me.
Pat, when you were in charge of the PGA, can you make sure the networks cover play all day? 2 p.m. Eastern start time coverage is insane. Apparently, they might start doing early morning coverage next year. That's what I've heard. they say it's confirmed. I'll see it when I believe it. If it's not just showing like 3 guys out on the course, great. Thanks for nothing. When I'm in charge of the PGA, we'll be able to see everyone, and then you can choose who you want on demand, but it's going to cost you the money. That's how we'll make our money back. Hell, for like, people would pay $100 a year for that, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like what you said, your red zone for PGA, especially like around the cut line, it's a fantastic idea. I don't see why you would wait, especially with like DFS. We want to see who these guys are, not just follow a feed or an app. There's great guys doing great stuff in terms of cut sweats and all of that, all of that stuff. But if you're able to watch these guys, it's much better. So yeah, when you're head of PGA, implement that number 1.
Finish position on points. Birdie Fest on this track, it's shaping up to be somewhat of a birdie fest, I think so.
Yeah.
I keep popping on Leishman. Well, Matt, you've taken too many ED pills, so watch out for that. You, after like 8 hours, call a doctor on that one. I think that's how that works. Help me out of using Leishman so much. Listen, if you want to use Leishman, go for it. I know Reid's in, I'm out, but I know from yesterday's show, I think that it was Rick who was in on him. I think Jeff was on him too. There's a lot of people on Leishman. It's a fun play.
Yeah, it's fine play. I like him.
All right, here we go. Last question. It just popped in from Damien. You need either List or Woodland to make a 5-footer to win the Millie. Who are you taking to make it? I can use both those guys to do well and make some 5-footers. I would say it's probably Gary Woodland. At least he's won tournaments before. Yeah,
I think Rick Gaiman mentioned too recently. List is a worse putter than he has been over the longer time frame, which is that's pretty scary. So I would go Woodland in that spot.
And listen, if he can rebound a little, let's just say it's a fluke week with List. Just think about how well he's been doing and not being able to putt. That's why we always like these crappy putters, because they putt like garbage but still finish well anyway. If it ever just happens, just be even for the week and come in like 8th. That'd be fantastic, Luke List. I'd love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Take the ball strikers, and he's one of the best.
Oh, last one. Woodland ownership. I can look that up for you right now. I have him at 11%.
Yeah, same here. Around like that low double digit, around 10 to 11.
All right, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience for the major coverage of the season. Won't be the last of golf, but will be for the majors, because we don't have another one till next year's Masters. But, Barclays next week. What the hell is it called? It's called the Northern Trust now. Wyndham next week. FedEx Cup playoffs. Ton of football content. Be on the lookout for that. Facebook.com/thepme for the full Pat Mayo Experience. Football draft kit. Rankings will be updated tomorrow. I'm doing a show with Seeley. Reid, where can everyone find you, your work, and where to follow you?
Yeah, so Reid T. Fowler on Twitter. I have my links to my blog and everything on there, the YouTube channel. A lot of stuff is going to be on DK Playbook, DK Live. So Reid T. Fowler on Twitter.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this. I really do appreciate it. And sorry if I was snide with you. I get a bunch punch drunk after all this, after a long week of golf content. Plus, all the football's mixed in now, too. So please give the episode a like, rate, and review on iTunes. Sorry again if the money's not in the account for the winners by the end of the day. I'm working on it. I'm sending emails. It's not up to me to just go put the money in your account, but it will get in there eventually. For the week 1 Millie Maker for NFL, you can go use it, or enter $20 next week, or whatever you got to do. The money will just be in your lineup. So thank you all for watching. Go consume all the other content. Thank you for sharing the work. Continue to share it. It really does mean a lot to me, and it's helped really build the success of this show and the community of this show, and I really do appreciate that. Plus, Friday night, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'll be live 5 to 7. Live in New York City doing content, and I'm going to try to have a meetup if people are interested. So hit me up on Twitter Friday night in New York City, probably from 8 on. Maybe grab a few drinks. It'd be nice to meet a lot of you out there who do spend the time to come out and enjoy the content. We can meet in real life. It's about the same. I'm very short. People don't seem to realize that. I'm taller than Brian Harman. That's fair. And the Fantasy Baseball World Championships are going on this weekend, so check that out. Plus, become a member of Fantasy National. Still time to get in. Reid, you'd recommend becoming a member, right?
Fantasy National, then you're missing out.
Then you got to give your head a shake. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.